The Doomer Bloomer podcast is a community for the resurrection of good ideas. We profile the hero's journey in weekly episodes and teach people about the 10 pillars framework for success in life, business, and relationships. Our mission is to find and help all Doomer Bloomers with mental health issues, poverty mindset, lack of resources, and those left behind in this world. Tune in weekly with Will S. and occasionally John Wynn as we have deep conversations with guests about the hero's journey, clown world order, and the resurrection of good ideas. To help support our community, go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support to become a member today. And remember, we are the cure for COVID-19. All right. Welcome back to the Doomer Bloomer podcast with Will S. We're talking about the 10 pillars framework for success, health, wealth, and wisdom being the core, and how to become a doomer to a bloomer in your life, in relationships, business in general. Tonight on the podcast, I have I'm going to call you a longtime confidant. Let's say that. His name is Dayton, and he also goes by Dr. Autoflower on YouTube. How are you doing, Dayton?
Oh, you're kind of glitching up.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Not a problem. I'm just glad that we could set aside this time and catch each other and basically catch up on the happenings. We kind of had a bit of a pre-show chit chat. Dayton, for those of us who don't know who you are and what Dr. Autoflower is and what your channel is about on YouTube, would you give us like a elevator pitch?
Yeah, I'll talk about that, and I guess it kind of goes in with my doomer bloomer kind of experience or whatever. For me, when I was in high school, I kind of had this feeling because I was pretty much obsessed with cannabis and wanted to learn everything about it, and just loved everything about the culture and the medical effects it could bring. And I just saw it as like something I was really, really into. And I wanted to learn so much about that I wanted to start growing. And I got really, really into just researching. And that's kind of something about myself where I just kind of get addicted into researching things that I'm really into. And I researched it so much that I learned how to grow, and I learned how to grow really good cannabis. And lots of people told me like, "Holy crap, this is some of like the best weed I've had in a long time." So I was like, maybe I'm onto something here. And I don't know, something clicked, and I was just like, maybe this would be a good thing to like put back into the universe, like all this knowledge that I've soaked up and learned on forums and stuff, because forums back in the day were the place to go to get knowledge on this kind of stuff. Like you had to go searching through all kinds of stories and forums and just like learn person to person, and then people would give their knowledge on like what that person's growing, and then you just kind of learn as a community. And I kind of just went from there, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be good if took all this knowledge and then put it into kind of like one form, one YouTube channel or something like that. So yeah, after high school I kind of went into like a doomer phase where I was like sleeping on a couch, had a job I didn't really like and stuff, and just always thinking about, I think I really need to get back in cannabis. I really need to like start doing this, and I want to like spread this information. So I finally got a really good job. I was kind of getting out of the doomer phase or whatever. I was working all the time, and I started growing again, and I started up a YouTube channel and pretty much focused on teaching people about autoflower cannabis, which is the third kind of cannabis. There is, a lot of people know indica, sativa as the main two, but there's also a third kind called ruderalis, which is pretty much a Asian. I guess it was originated in the Asian steppes, kind of.
Just
It's a hemp plant, pretty much, that flowers, compared to regular cannabis that needs 12 and 12 lighting, like 12 hours on, 12 hours off to start to flower. What was that?
Oh, nothing. I was just gonna say, well, I really appreciate you for for the efforts that you've put out there in the universe, right? Because just to be perfectly honest, we've known each other a long time, and coming back to like the doomer days, being right out of high school and stuff. Um, yeah, like the path that you set yourself upon, was very non-conventional, right? Um, so it's
No, definitely by a lot of people's terms, it's definitely not something many people did or like thought would be a good idea. Even I don't know if you ever looked in our yearbook or whatever, the one our graduation yearbook or whatever,
the two
and
that yeah
people put like who do
yeah
they look up to, and I put like one of the biggest cannabis, I guess, smugglers ever for like the USA, and I put that as like who I looked up to. So I was
yeah
like, even then, I just had a feeling like cannabis was going to be something like was going to be my path, even though it was illegal back then. I just had a feeling like, oh, this is going to be the future. And what is it, 11, 12 years later, like it is now the future and it is a giant new industry. And luckily, I had that hindsight or whatever you call it, that to like start early and be one of the people who had the balls to actually do it on YouTube while I wasn't actually legal. So there was, yeah, we'll get into that later when, because I kind of stopped YouTube because things cracked down and got a little crazy, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, like putting stuff out there in the universe is, I think, kind of important. Um, just because like all that information or helpfulness, I believe, will come back to you tenfold later on. And I guess you could say that it definitely has, for me. Uh, though I guess I would say I am always on like the doomer bloomer path. Like it's never over. You're always continuing and growing and learning. So yeah.
yeah. I would call it the doomer bloomer spectrum, um, if that makes any sense. When did you
Yeah.
decide to do YouTube full time? Was that like 20 mid 20 teens?
Um, well, when I got back, I'll tell you the YouTube story. Kind of goes back to what I was just talking about. So when I very first started producing cannabis content back in, I believe, either late 2010 or 2011, I believe, uh, there was very few cannabis creators. There was maybe a couple hundred tops, and there was a lot more like UK people. There's a lot more Australian people, and I just wanted to produce a bunch of content and just put it out there. And then I think it was like a year after I produced like 40 really helpful, uh, like how-to videos that tons of people learned on. They got like, I think think 10 million views tops or something like that altogether. And I don't know, that's kind of cool to think about, that I've helped probably at least hundreds of thousands of people learn how to grow cannabis, and kind of keep things going or keep the ball rolling. From me, just one person learning, to tons and tons of people learning all the same information. I think it's very helpful and stuff, and I don't know, keeps the universe going. But back then, a year after I produced all that content, people started getting busted. The police were using some way to track people down, and people got word of it, and a lot of people freaked out, and a lot of people deleted their content, turned it all off. I kind of freaked out too and deleted a bunch of stuff, but then I thought to myself, I better just leave these 10 really, really helpful videos and just let them just stay and do the thing, and just they can give back to the universe. And I'm not growing anymore, so I'm not worried about getting busted. So I kind of just left them. And then 2013, 2014, I kind of just lost track of it all. And then I started checking them out again. I'm like, wow, this is really gaining a lot of traction. This is kind of crazy. And I'm kind of crazy if I don't kind of do something about it and um, kind of grow on that. And that's when I started to just produce weekly content. I was still working in the oil field, so it wasn't something I could really do full time then. But I kind of just saw like it as a hobby that is most likely going to turn into like a business in the future. So I was like, I better keep on this. And it wasn't until 2016, I believe, or maybe 2015, that I found out there was a thing called affiliate marketing. And no one was doing this. No one in my niche at all was doing this with Amazon. And I really had no clue how to do this. And I talked to another YouTuber from another niche, and he said, "Oh yeah, you just like put in your YouTube channel, and then boom, you get an affiliate code." And I was like, "What?" So this guy was trying to sell flashlights and stuff like that, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't make much money with it. It's probably not the greatest business idea, but it'll help." So I'm like, and I thought to myself, and I was like, what if I just put links to all the gear I'm using? So I did that, and freaking overnight, I had probably I couldn't say how much I made Amazon sales, but I got back then you got 8%, and I was making $600 the first month, and then second month over $1,000. So I was like, wow, I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for not thinking of this earlier. And yeah, then I really started getting into it more and like seeing it as a business, and really starting to produce a lot more content. And it kind of snowballed from there, and started to work with companies, produce or kind of promoting their gear. And it's a really good industry or niche for that, because people are growing the cannabis. People want to learn how to grow the cannabis. They want to know what are the good gear to use to grow the cannabis. And it just, yeah, it seems like a really good relationship you had back then with the companies. And they were very eager to let people try out and make money with their grow lights. So that's kind of what I got into. And kind of blossomed into, well, I also got into traveling back in 2014. And then I thought to myself, hey, if I could do this with cannabis, with something I really love, what about another thing I really love, which is travel? What if I don't know, tried to make travel videos, inspire people to do the same, get out there, explore the world and whatnot, see different cultures, and not just live inside your little bubble and whatnot? Like, I thought that was a good idea. So I kind of changed or started a new channel, and I kind of did the same thing that I was doing with cannabis companies, but now for traveling companies like resorts and tour guides or tour companies and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of morphed into that. And I think 2016 or 2017, I pretty much said to myself, um, this was after I
Oh,
started a film company too, because I got into filming and learn because it's all things. It's all, how do I explain it? YouTube and all this social media stuff. You're learning so many different, um,
there's
very
synergistic.
very needed business techniques or
Yeah.
services. Yeah, yeah, like services that you can provide for other companies later on, like learning how to create videos, learning how to edit, learning how to run social media stuff. These are all things that I learned that companies need or people need, and it all kind of like revolves together, and you learn everything all together. And yeah, that's how I learned filming, learned how to start my own film business, got into weddings and stuff like that, working with companies here, and yeah, that kind of turned into me saying, "Hey, I think I want to just only do full time YouTube," and that's what kind of when I stopped working with companies locally and just said, "Hey, I'm going to go full time on YouTube, and I'm going to make it. I'm either going to make it or I'm going to be broke or whatever." And like I had this mindset where I am not going to fail. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen, and pretty much I made it happen. And I was able to make consistent money consistently while I was living in Asia there in Philippines, and life was pretty good. And now back here in Canada during the whole Corona thing, and I've been working full time. At least, like I haven't worked for another company for the last 3 years or so. So yeah, it has been a fun ride. Well, of course, has its ups and downs, but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely have learned a lot over the last few years.
I call that burning the boats. Have you heard of the term burn the boats before?
Burn the boats, yeah. I think I looked that up when I saw a message from you on that, where they go in to fight the enemy, so they burn the boats. So like, yeah, there's no retreat, so there's only forward.
Right. The Roman
So
it was
yeah, that's kind of what I did.
a Roman tactic. So burn the boats in a sense. And uh, honestly, Dayton, you convinced me to do the same thing. We've
Yeah,
been
I think
we
the conquistadors did the same.
Yeah, yeah. So there, like you said, there is only
that's
four.
that's kind of what I feel my purpose is to influence people to like chase something better in their life. I don't know, like chase a dream instead of, oh, I'm just gonna find a good job and I'm just gonna do that good job until I'm 50 or 60, then I'm gonna retire, then I'm gonna have fun. It's like, no, you can have your best life now.
Yeah, I mean, to the logical extension of that, you know, I'm basically living off the grid essentially. Uh, you know, on my own terms now. It's been a uh, when was I? It was I think it was 2018. I think we reconnected. Um, and I was again going through my own my own doomer period at that time around then, trying to finish my trades certificate in electrical. Um, but
Yeah, your
I
electrician trade course.
yeah, and we had met in a place called Rolla Pub in Dawson Creek, and you were telling me what you and your wife were doing, and I
Yeah, yeah, I
I had
remember the day. That was a fun night.
yeah, that was like when you could actually go out to a bar and be more than 6 feet apart from somebody, and and
A very, very close quarters bar too.
oh yeah,
Probably
uh,
the most close quarters bar I've been into a long time.
you know, and I had read the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss in 2011, 2012. And I had tried to embody some of the principles, but I'd never seen anyone like actually living it, or you know what I mean, like, um, because what you just mentioned, right? Like, basically living the life on your own terms, uh, not deferring your retirement to, like you said, 55 years,
Yeah.
55
Yeah,
and
not
up.
many people do that.
And I kind
Yeah,
of, yeah, I kind of saw the track that I was going on, and I didn't see a, I didn't, I've always, I guess something, between talking to you and some other of our mutual colleagues, like there was, I think something kind of ignited in me that night, to be honest, like, subconsciously. Um, we're looking at the logical conclusion of that, with the Doomer Bloomer podcast. That spark of desire has basically led me on the path I'm on now with the Doomer Bloomer podcast, Yukon Gold Energy, and the Daily Taoist. They're my
yeah,
my three major projects. Um, but at that time I was always just thinking of myself as, oh, I'll be an electrician forever, and and I might maybe raise to the level of becoming a subcontractor or
yeah.
something.
I don't think I've ever really conformed to the social norms.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm really glad that we've reconnected over a lot of these things, right? Because you find that sometimes you're living in a bit of a vacuum chamber, right? Like, you talk about,
yeah, true.
the traveling, making the money on the internet, living life on your own terms. Like, I'm part of, like, they call it like financial independence, retire early, or the FIRE community. Um, you know, and
Yeah,
there is there's an entirely different way of living your life. I mean, it's not always easy, as you can probably attest. Um, but at the very least, you're living on your own terms, and every effort that you put out,
oh
uh,
yeah. It's definitely not easy.
should,
And it's not as easy as just going out and filming and making awesome content either. You kind of mentally have to be ready for that shit. And that's kind of what happened to me. I wasn't technically mentally ready to be a travel vlogger or something. Um,
yeah.
like that, I kind of got into like just watching travel vlogs from my love of travel, growing up and watching Anthony Bourdain or the Canadian guys. No, what are they called? Oh, it's Departures. Departures is a really big one. It's on
Yeah,
Netflix now. I used to love
departures.
watching those guys
Yeah.
growing up, and I
Well,
just thought, man, wouldn't that be awesome to do that? Be able to do that, and then 2014 or so. Or well, a little bit before that. That's when the rise of travel vloggers started happening,
mm,
and I guess a couple years before that, the rise of vlogging. So people thought, hey, what if I just did vlogging while traveling, and then boom, you're doing that for a living? And to me, that was such an amazing thing. Like, holy, could you imagine being able to do that and just travel around the world, the spots you really want to go to, and just do it for, you're getting paid sometimes. You're not really spending money because you're working with hotels and stuff. I'm like, oh man, wouldn't that be amazing? And then I thought, well, technically, anyone with the balls can do it. If you got if you got the balls and you're crazy enough, you kind of got to be a little crazy. You got to be like, yeah, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be one
yeah.
of the few couple hundred people in the world to do this, and just kind of just make it out of thin air, kind of thing. And if you don't have that drive, then it's probably not going to happen. But if you're like, this is going to happen, I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to be one of those few hundred crazy people traveling around the world and, like, doing it for free. If you have that mindset and drive, you can make things happen. And I'm happy to hear that I could influence you to kind of chase your own dream. And you're also doing the same to me because now you got a travel trailer. I'm here at home, stuck, stuck growing weed to produce content for the internet, and because of that, like that's the duality of my two niches. If I do one niche, I can't do the other. If so, like I guess if I get bored, I can switch over to one or the other. But like it's kind of cool to see what you're doing, where you went and bought a travel trailer and you're going all in, where you're staying in it, living there, and doing what you want, producing your content, and trying to make things happen. So yeah, that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and it's conducive to what I do because I'm not limited to geographic location. For like, I'm in the renewable energy field as like I would say my main occupation. And then the Doomer Bloomer
Yeah,
podcast is uh, well, it started as a labor of love between me and my friend John, because we saw what was happening with like the extreme leftism and the political correctness movement
yeah,
in the United States, and it was kind of our protest at or our attempt at getting a voice out there, to talk. We call ourselves the rational monsters sometimes, where we try to bring
yeah.
the voice of reason and logical thinking to illogical ideological arguments. Um, and then from there, this past year,
Yeah,
I've kind of opened up the floor. It's more just me. John occasionally comes on, but I've opened up the floor to more of a guest platform. Trying to the official mission is to find all of the doomer bloomers in the world with poverty mindset, lack of resources, scarcity, and mental health issues. Um, because those are all things that I have
yeah.
struggled with, and I'm kind of like you, Dayton, except my breadth of knowledge uh, is in more in renewable energy, but more specifically human development and self development. Um, and I'm at the point,
Philosophy and that kind of stuff.
yeah, philosophy. Like I read the Tao Te Ching pretty much every day. I've read pretty much every major Stoic out there, from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus to you know, Zeno, the original Stoic. Um, I've gotten a little bit
Hmm.
late. I've gotten a little bit lately more into just reading the New Testament, the Beatitudes specifically with Jesus. But I talk about that more on the Daily Taoist podcast. This guy like has kind of morphed into well, I call it the community for the resurrection of good ideas, right? That's basically the tagline. um, I'm trying to I'm trying to spark
Yeah, like it's also
yeah,
something.
go ahead.
It's something that not many people are. Well, so many people probably go through it, but they don't really think about it or like put it into actual like context or whatever. Like I haven't really ever heard people talk about this, but I know so many people have gone through this. I've seen it myself. How many friends have gone through a doomer bloomer kind of phase where they're just like down for years and years or whatever, or months or whatever, and then they just get a better mindset, and they're just like they're driven and like, no, I'm going to make something happen in my life. And some of them become awesome business people. Some of them, they get by, but at least they try is the thing. Like if you just stay in that doomer kind of mindset, it's not really
Well,
good for one's
well,
well-being.
well, we call it the hero's journey. Like we call it we on the hero's journey, right? We start out from our safe, comfortable hobbit hole wherever you are, and then feel that call to adventure, but you still have to you have to traverse through
Yeah,
the trials right? Go through the cave, only bring what you brought with you, go out the other side. And the doomer
Yeah.
bloomer cycle, or the hero's journey, whatever you want to call it, we cycle through that throughout our life. It's not just a one time, a one time thing, right? You were mentioning it could be a week thing, or a couple week thing, or a month or a year. You know, the
Months or whatever.
the the thing
Yeah.
the thing that I like
Yeah.
try to go ahead.
I actually probably first saw that. Like I heard of this from back in the day when I started watching Joe Rogan podcast
Yeah.
back in like I like to say I'm really good at like finding diamonds in the rough on YouTube, or like content for social media. When I find them, they're really small. Like Joe Rogan, I found him when he was probably like 20,000 subscribers or something like that. So right when he very first started, probably episode 98 or 97 or something like that. And yeah, that's when I first started hearing about this like hero's journey, or the way he described it was like you want to be the hero of your own movie. Like your life
Yeah.
is your movie. Like, do you want to
Mhm.
just be like your movie is you working at this job until you're 60 years old and then you go enjoy life, or do you want to make something happen and like do something that's not normal? And I probably first saw that like from my grandpa, because a lot of, or like the story of my grandpa was he was like a rodeo champion,
Okay.
but a person who like also never liked to like actually work under someone. He liked to have his own thing where he ran his own ranch, or you know, while he was rodeoing, he was the hero of his story, right? He was making money just rodeoing, going all around the country, winning buckles and tons of money, and he was a happy guy and stuff. And then once all that ended, he didn't go get a normal 9 to 5 job. He went and did an adventure with my dad in Africa, and they ran one of Africa's biggest cattle ranches for Nigeria. And yeah, they had crazy stories about living there and stuff. And then when he got back, they got ranches in America, sold that, got ranches in Canada, sold that, and just kind of did his own thing and stuff. So it's kind of something that I grew up with, kind of in the back of my mind. Like you don't have to like be be under someone, work for someone else's dream. You can like do your own dream, and you can uh, you can make your own movie that much better.
Well, I would say it's even more important now than it was even a couple years ago, arguably.
What was that?
Well, in the post COVID era here, people have realized that if you have an internet connection, you can work from home, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely hear what you're saying. The
But I,
whole Tim Ferriss thing kind of blew that up.
well, I mean, I find that the 4 hour
Like,
work week is a misnomer, though, right? It happens.
yeah, the whole 4 hour work week. I tried to get into it. Yeah, the whole 4 hour work week. I tried to get into that, but it's kind of wasn't really my style. Um, I don't know. Some people I know that was really into it. I met them in Thailand. Riley is his name. He got really into that, and that's what he did. He took off to Thailand, went to like a digital nomad convention, and learned how to do like a drop shipping on Amazon. And he created some really good drop shipping stuff or products or whatever. And now he's living his dream in Thailand or all over the world, and he just does that. And like it can be done if you have the drive, and you have the motivation and the know-how. You can make it happen where you can work from your computer. You don't have to work for anyone. You do your own thing, and you're living an awesome life. And it also helps with where you're living too. Like it kind of like here in Canada, you have to make some decent money to get by. If you're in, let's say, Southeast Asia, South America, Eastern Europe, and stuff, these places you can live for half what you live in Canada for. So it's so much easier to do it in those places, and that's why a lot of digital nomads take off to take off those countries. Their dollar goes way further.
Currency arbitrage, that's called.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think
indeed.
the 4 hour work week has some good principles. However, the way that you execute your life or like fulfill your your lifestyle design doesn't necessarily have to come out of that book, right? It's more like a guide. I would consider it
Yeah,
more like a guideline for lifestyle redesign, right? Um, there's some good principles in there, but
yeah,
it's
I could
just
see
like
that.
any book. You take the best of it, and then you set aside the rest. All right. At least you know it, I don't look at it as like being the gospel or the Bible truth or this is the best way to live your life. Um, I I mean
No,
you're
I thought as like a one of the steps.
you're an example of that. Like you're
Kind of
more
some of it's information, some of it's
yeah. You're more of the YouTube
sorry. Go ahead.
style. You're more of the YouTube style. I personally have gone the podcasting route. It's just a medium that I'm more comfortable and familiar with. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, on that note, is Doctor Autoflower? Are you going to be starting your own Autoflower cannabis podcast, or is that something you've considered?
I have thought about it. I'm gonna do a different cannabis podcast here. I think it's scheduled for tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm trying to get into it more, and yeah, just trying to find different ways to spread that information, grow as a channel, as a person, because like this is a good way to like just shoot the shit with someone and just learn, learn from other people, learn from a community, help other people out, inspire others and whatnot. So yeah, I see it as a good way to do it. Another
Yeah.
another
I
form of media that you can use to your advantage. And yeah,
well,
I say if it's useful, use it.
I agree. It's one of the reasons why I have my Discord group. I'm not sure if I've talked about this before, but on my Discord group, I help people who want to start and get into podcasting specifically. Like, there's a lot of resources that I don't necessarily share with the public at large. Like, there are some links that I put out there that could be helpful.
Yeah,
But for me, like we talked about this before, is I'm trying to build that community, those communities of doomer bloomers, and I'm trying to empower people to build their own groups of doomer bloomers within their own niches, right? Um, because I don't necessarily have the in-depth knowledge about cannabis, right? Um, but I can talk to somebody like you, Dayton.
yeah,
We do a collaboration, and then you start your own podcast just around. Well, you already have the community for the YouTube channel. I'm sure lots of people would follow you over to a podcast. Um, more my niche is a little more, I would say, more broad. It's more in the self-development vein, and if I was to categorize it, I would be um, again helping people with that poverty or that darker, that darker mindset get to a better place in their lives, right? Or the doomer
Yeah,
bloomer,
I hear you.
the doomer bloomer mindset is just that. It's
Well,
a
I guess you could say that's like, yeah, I would say that's kind of something like you hope for in this kind of, I guess, work or whatever you call whatever we do. I don't even know what to tell people sometimes when they ask what do I do, because I'm like,
yeah.
I do a lot of things, and it's kind of everything's combined. But like something you want to do is like influence someone who influences other people, and they influence other people, and it's just like one big influenced snowball. And like to know that like you have a part in that, that's a really good way to live your life, I think.
Share
So
share
that's
share
awesome. That's awesome that you're kind of doing that for a different kind of niche. So yeah,
Well, I'm collectively trying, like my goal, like my collective life goal is I'm trying to get everyone above that, like food, shelter, security on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Uh, if we start moving into
yeah,
higher levels of self actualization and move into creativity and spirit, uh, I think we could collectively raise the vibrational frequency of the entire planet. Um, you know, there, there's a lot of discordance out there right now, and I think being a force for positive change in the world is something that is sorely needed, in my opinion. Um,
yeah, I agree.
There, we there seems to be, unfortunately, a constant bombardment of negativity or negative media, uh, and I
Yeah,
I could be considered counter culture or counter radical culture to that, in a sense. Um, but I view myself
yeah,
I view myself as a change agent, and I guess I wouldn't have even said that even 2 years ago.
yeah.
20, right?
Yeah, you. I don't think I would have considered you as someone as counterculture or someone against going against the grind. I don't know. So like that kind of always felt like because I was in cannabis from years back, I felt like that's always been my thing. I've always been a part of the counterculture. That's why I spread all my information to overgrow the big brothers, the ones who are trying to control the population. We all kind of have to do our thing to, overgrow the government, grow so much. Like that's forget who said it, but like that was a thing back in the day. People were like, we have to spread all this information and have people grow so much cannabis that the authorities have no idea what to do with, and it becomes an impossible task. And that's kind of what we did. We just spread so much information that the whole population was just like, no, we're not buying this shit anymore. All this fake lies about cannabis and all that. We're gonna legalize. So I guess it worked.
At least in Canada. I think I don't know how many countries worldwide have legalized. Do you know that?
uh, we got Chile and Canada are the actual only ones that I believe are actually legal, fully legal for adults. And then we have Mexico that should be legalizing here very soon. Uh, it's kind of complicated right now. Like Thailand was the very first Asian company or country to legalize medically, which
Mm.
happened 2019, I believe. And
Okay.
now you can buy medicinal cannabis there and use it if you have issues, but it's kind of under wraps. There's of course lots of the European countries have medical, but yeah, it seems like Canada and Chile are the very first one. Or I think it's Chile. Is it Chile or Uruguay? I forget. But Canada is pretty much I call it as like cannabis legalization was not useful for actual cannabis users. It was not helpful. It was just like now you can just buy it at a store. Yeah, that's nice, but it's super expensive and the quality's not that great. There's stricter laws now, so I don't really see it as a positive for the actual local cannabis user here in Canada, but I see it as like a very much needed first step for the entire world where they
Mm.
can say like, okay, we see this country here, it's a developed country. The sky didn't fall when they legalized. It's, there isn't more car crashes or whatever. There's not deaths from it. Nothing really changed. Now there's just an industry where they're paying taxes on the billions of dollars they make. So now countries are finally starting to say, like, oh, we better get on this before all these other countries legalize too, and then they get all the tax benefits and then we don't. So now you kind of see a rush of people all wanting to get, or countries all wanting to get into medical, and there's some out there who are trying to go like full legalization. And I think like that's where we're headed in the next 20 years. We're going to see a lot of countries falling because so many medical states are in America now, people don't take them seriously on their cannabis laws and their world cannabis laws, because they were the ones who went out and said, "Hey, we want everyone to make cannabis super legal and be very strict on it." And the whole world got payments from them, and they're like, "Okay, sure." And now since they're just legalizing left or right, I think the world sees it as like, oh, like they don't really have any say. Look what's happening in their country. They're legalizing it from the ground up. So yeah, I think a lot of countries are just going to be doing their own thing, going outside the treaties, because they all signed treaties and stuff. Technically, Canada was on a treaty where we weren't technically allowed to have cannabis legal and blah blah blah. Yeah, see, everyone like brought that up, but I was like, no, they're just not going to follow it because who's going to enforce it? And that's exactly what happened. So other countries are going to do that now, and I think it'll be a domino effect, and it's going to start happening because I think Mexico's could be the next one. They could be this year. It could go legalize this year or possibly next year. I think also a couple in South America are going to do the same thing. So yeah, it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Well, I'm Mexico is on my bucket list. So um, once the borders open up,
Yeah.
I think
Are you
I
going to
think.
be
Go ahead.
you going to take your trailer down?
I am already making preliminary plans with my aunt and uncle. Right now, they have a rancho. They have a ranch down there. And yeah,
Oh, really cool.
as long as I have yeah, and you're welcome to come down there too. as long
That's
as
awesome.
as
You're
long
going to
as I
drive all the way down?
well, I don't see any other choice. um, but
Yeah.
I don't think I want to see another Canadian winter. To be honest, um, has not been for my
No, it's
doom.
kind of depressing.
Yeah, for my doomerism, the only cure really is fresh sunshine and exercise. And basically from October until
Yeah,
April,
like
yeah, yeah. As you know, October to April is very very depressing up here.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's something that I really noticed like living in Southeast Asia. Um, I was it was really easy to quit cannabis because of course it's super illegal there. So I was just like, no, I'm good, I'm done. Take a break while I'm over here. And I really had no issue at all. I didn't really have much issue with depression and stuff because like you have stuff to do, you have beautiful weather, and like you're exploring amazing places that you never thought you'd go to before. Like especially when you're a kid, you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to go to the jungle or go here, go there? And then when you're older and you're actually doing it, it's kind of mind blowing, and I think it really helps. And I think that's kind of why I tell a lot of people like you should get out and travel. You should see the world while you can and while you're young, and not wait till you're 60 years old and you're kind of decrepit and you don't really want to go hiking, or your body's falling apart at that age when you're normally retiring. Might as well do it while you're young and see the world while you're young. And there's ways to make it happen.
Mini retirements or lifestyle design is the key, I think, to that one. Something that
Yeah, mini retirements.
yeah,
That's kind of what I do.
yeah.
Even though it's not really a retirement, it's like I retire to something, a new project, and then
Yeah,
I'm busy with that. And I don't know.
project-based work.
Yeah, I hear you.
On that note, what do you think that your next project is going to be?
Um, well, I pretty much want to get back into like before the last couple of years. I've been just kind of more documenting what I'm doing in my growing and like the products I use and all that kind of stuff. Now I kind of want to go back into make content more for helpful information based, like more centralized around that, and not just more like vlogs like I was doing before. Because I want to get back into like spreading that information out to the world, helping as many people as I can grow and be inspired by what I'm doing, and hopefully get more people out and learn how to grow their own medicine. And then they go out and teach people how to do the same thing, and it all snowballs from there. So I think that's kind of like I was gonna say, like listening to your podcast. I have noticed, and I've noticed this in the past. I think a lot of doomers, they don't really have a they're like they don't really realize what their purpose is in life, and it takes a long time for people to understand what their purpose is in life. I think I got really lucky and kind of stumbled upon it, or just kind of like had a inkling or whatever back when I was in high school that I wanted to like just teach people how to grow cannabis and like spread that information as much as possible. And I had no idea how that was going to turn into a business later on, but I kind of just managed and did my own thing. No one had a a map on how to do that, but I just kind of learned from my mistakes and learned from what I was doing and kind of just made my way. And I think a lot of people can do that with things they love, and that's why I tell a lot of people, hey, start a YouTube channel. If you got something you love, start a YouTube channel and do it on the thing you love, and do it just because you want to like put something out in the world or in the universe, and it'll come back. And like maybe you have a lot of information on like skidoos or something, and you just want to talk about skidoos and show skidoo this and that, and then later on maybe your channel grows into something huge, and then companies are like, hey, we want you to showcase this, we want you to showcase that, and then you realize, oh my god, i'm going to I'm going to produce content that's going to like help people, and I'm going to help a business, and the business is going to help me. So I don't know, it's like it's kind of mind blowing if you think about it, and like think about like people back 20, 30 years ago, if you told them that that's what you did, they would be like, "What? Like you
Yeah.
did this on your own? Like it doesn't make sense." Like I have to I have to explain myself to like a lot of people because they ask like, what do I do?" And I explain it to them. They're like, "What? You make money by just like producing content and like that's it?" It's like, yeah, that's I just do what I love and spread that out in the universe, and it comes back and it works somehow. They're like, "Holy shit!" So yeah, it can be done. There, if there's a will, there's a way. And yeah, I think I want to focus more on back to where I started, and that was just helping people and spreading out useful information to the universe and see what happens when it comes back.
All right. Yeah, I mean, do good things happen, and uh, like I mean, that's the reason why I do the podcast. I'm gonna kind of do a bit of a sign off here, if that's
Nope.
okay, Dayton. Um, unless you have anything else that you want to add. If you're in a doomer headspace, or need help with well, or if any niche, if you're in Dayton's neck of the woods, obviously you can reach out to Dayton directly. What's the best place to reach you at on your social medias, Dayton?
Um, I would say if you want to message me, probably the best way to do it would be through Instagram on Dr. Autoflower,
Okay.
or I'm on YouTube, Dr. Autoflower, all one word, easy to find.
Do you have a Twitter, Dr. Autoflower?
I do, but I really don't use it anymore. I've kind of stopped.
No,
Twitter's
that's
a little toxic for my taste now.
agreed. And of course, if you want to reach out to the
Yeah,
Doomer,
yeah.
the Doomer Bloomer
I go
pod,
on there to wake myself up sometimes in the morning, just like,
yeah. I try to avoid it except through my Hootsuite account. Uh, if you're out there in the Twitter sphere, Facebook sphere, YouTube sphere, podcast sphere, you're struggling with poverty mindset, lack of resources, mental health issues, feel free to reach out here at the Doomer Bloomer podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, obviously. Um, Thanks for coming on the show, Dayton, and dealing with my crappy
yeah, thanks for
internet.
having me on.
Yeah, my internet issues aside, I think it's going to be a good episode. Um, Everyone out there,
Yeah, there was some glitchy parts that I tried to piece piece together, but I think I did okay.
yeah. One bonus question that I always ask people is, what is your zombie plan?
Oh, zombie plan. I think it's kind of close to my like Corona WW3 plan. It'd be like grab my possessions, my machete, and probably head to the farm, family farm, and start growing there. I like I I've always been prepared for like situations like that, and like have lots of seeds for vegetable farms and all that kind of stuff. So like I got my family into like really got into gardening last year, and I was like, yeah, this is probably a really smart thing we should be doing because you never know. And yeah, I would be gardening. I would be fending off the zombies with my machete, putting up defenses on the perimeter, and living life.
All right, I like that. Dayton, Dr. Autoflower, living life on his own terms, inspired me to do something more worthwhile with my life. So thank you. And uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
have yourself a great
Inspired to
and
aspire. You're
yeah,
trying to
exactly.
inspire me. I kind of want to get into van life.
Yeah, man. Have a
Can't
great
wait
and
to start.
prosperous night wherever you are. Peace.
Yeah, see you guys later.
If you enjoyed this content with Dayton, aka Dr. Autoflower, and you would like to follow him, please check out his YouTube channel of the same name, Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Autoflower. Here at the Doomer Bloomer podcast, we're always hoping to expand our membership and grow a community for the resurrection of good ideas. If you would like to do so, please go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support and become a member today. There you can go to our Patreon page, our GoFundMe, and at our level 1 subscriber, you can become a member of our Discord group, have access to exclusive content. If you're feeling a little more ambitious and would like some direct coaching from me, become Alexa level subscriber. Alexa Smart Speaker will be shipped to your home. You'll have some additional contact with myself. Beyond that, if you're looking to get your YouTube channel, podcast, or social media following going, become a level 3 subscriber, and I'll be able to coach you directly. If you enjoyed the episode, please retweet, share, like on your social medias. The hashtag this week is hashtag 4-hour work week. Have yourself a great and prosperous day.